Therapists of Reddit, what's been your biggest, I know I'm not supposed to judge, but holy shit, moment? Early on in my career, while working at a community mental health center, I had a 17-year-old client that had an 18-month-old daughter, and was 4.5 months pregnant when we began working together. After we built enough trust in our relationship, she disclosed that she had been repeatedly raped by her father for the past 3 years. He had sole custody of her because her mom suffered from drug addiction, and had her parental rights terminated. She reported to him to the local police, small town, however they were friendly with her father and didn't believe her. They told her they would only follow through with a report if she would detail her sexual assaults with her father present, stating that if she could not do that they would know she was lying. Her biggest fears were that her children were biologically her father's. She would not get a DNA test because she didn't want to look at them or love them differently. I made several reports to several authorities that declined to investigate or remove her from the home. In the end, my supervisor and I worked our asses off to get her connected with a very thorough and helpful sexual assault agency in another state. My agency and the new agency split the cost to get her there, settled, and safe. She was 18 years old by this time. I still think about her 20 years later and hope she's okay. 2. I had a preteen client whose guardian kept requesting progress notes to see how they've been doing. It's against clinic policy for clients and parents or guardians to have access to the notes. They're allowed to have access to everything else though. The client was very defiant to everyone, but was a wonderful kid throughout their treatment with me. When I met both with the guardian and parent, who both insisted on knowing everything about the kid, everything started making sense. Once the parent requested to switch therapists. Only because I declined their request to the notes, I knew how unhealthy the family dynamics were. I felt bad for the kid, because they were opening up more about the family dynamics and how they impacted them. We had a good therapeutic relationship. 3. A lovely teen girl was brought to her first appointment with me by her dad. Her mom had, as diplomatically as he could spell it out to me, recently up and left the family to go live some selfish new age lifestyle with a Reiki healer. Just abandoned him with 2 kids to raise solo, and he was doing his best for them. Therapy was the daughter's idea. She had been having troubling intrusive thoughts lately about school shootings, like how to plan and execute one. These thoughts were upsetting to her and she did not want to act on them. I can still picture how scared and sad she looked telling me this. I just wanted to wrap her in my arms, but instead I offered so much praise and encouragement for her seeking help and trusting me with this information. She also met most of the diagnostic criteria for onset of a schizoaffective disorder. We pulled Dad into session, caught him up, explained the most urgent part of the plan. He was going to take her for a full eval with a great psychiatrist colleague of mine who understood the situation and was going to get her in stat. Daughter seemed relieved, Dad seemed relieved, we scheduled time to talk soon. Well, Mom woke up from whatever festival ditch she had passed out in and angrily called my office and flipped out on me. How dare I? Am I trying to poison her child with pharmaceuticals? Did I even draw her blood and check her vitamin levels? Do I want a bad Google review or worse yet, a warrant issued for my arrest? Do I even understand herbal supplements? I need to stop now because my head hurts remembering all of this. This woman is nuts. 4. I once had a man who was attending family therapy with his 3 children, admit that his last child, a girl, was an accident we tried to abort, we only wanted boys. The sad thing is, the girl didn't even look bothered, she had clearly heard it all before. They were attending family therapy as the girl was actively suicidal and they didn't know why.
That poor girl. Hope things get better for her.
I'm sure their boys were growing up with very reasonable and respectful views on women too. Fucking hell.
Mom said this to my now-deceased sister. My sister had depression and anxiety, then later had cancer. They can't figure out how she developed it because she was only 30 and passed at 35. I don't know Mom and Dad. Maybe it's the constant belittling and telling her she was always going to be a failure. They've said even trying to abort her failed. My sister cried to me every day as we were kids about everything she heard. Even as we became adults, she never got over it. I think our body really does keep score. I'm actually now addressing my issues too. Things started coming up in my body that I didn't worry or didn't hurt before. Mental health is just as important. It's part of the overall health. Be kind to yourselves, folks. Nobody else will give that to you but yourself.
5. I worked with a teenager who was struggling with eating disorders, to the point she'd been hospitalized for organ damage at one point a few months before. I went to dinner with the girl and her mother. Her mom spent the entire dinner counting the individual pieces of rice she, the mom, was eating, so she could accurately count the calories she consumed. I asked the mom to stop and she just stared at me, and asked why she would do that? Because she had to watch her figure. I wonder where the 15-year-old got her eating disorder from. Edit, for those of you wondering why I was eating with the kid and the mom. The teen was inpatient and the mom was visiting. I was working as a psych tech, and the kid wasn't allowed to eat unobserved. Since I had to document her food intake to make sure she was eating sufficiently, as a part of her treatment plan, I joined her and her mom in the cafeteria for the meal. I definitely passed along the info about the mom's eating habits for the therapist to follow up with in family therapy.
Reminds me of Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. She shares how her mother taught her anorexia at 11 to avoid puberty. On her mother's deathbed, she tried to cheer her up by saying she finally reached her goal weight of like 80 pounds. A good read and her audiobook.